3. Welcome to Walk the Line. I'm your host, OG Chris Murray, giving you my Dynasty Man League Week 10 Golden Picks. We enter in the second half of the 2021 season, and things are starting to heat up. So without further ado, let's dive into these picks. First up, we got Taz and the Detroit Lions versus Hamilton and the Minnesota Vikings. Both of these teams are entering this matchup 2-6, and both of these teams seem to be struggling at the exact same position. Besides the struggles on the offense side of the ball, the Minnesota Vikings has a big question mark at the quarterback position. Quarterback Alexander cannot seem to take care of the ball, man. Right now, he's accounting for 20 turnovers. You cannot expect to win in the DML if your quarterback is turning the ball over. To switch gears, the Detroit Lions have the same exact struggles. Stafford cannot seem to take care of the ball, whether it's forcing it, throwing an interception, or whether it's him holding on to the ball and fumbling it. Holding on to the ball for too long and fumbling it. This game is going to come down to two things, in my opinion. One, which quarterback can take care of the ball, and two, the Minnesota Vikings getting the run game going because they're going up against a defense who's ranked 28th against the run, and Cook should have a big game in this matchup. Now, this game is going to come down to who won it more, man. Who wants the W more? And I think, looking at this matchup right now, how both guys are playing, I'm going to have to go with the Minnesota Vikings getting the W going into Week 11. Next up, we got HBO and the Dallas Cowboys versus under 2 rated in the Washington Redskins. This game is pretty much the weaklings of the NFC East. Both of these teams, man, have so much talent on both sides of the ball, but can't seem to just gel it together. You know, you got HBO and those Dallas Cowboys who made a crazy blockbuster trade, bringing over young superstar wide receiver Rashard Bass to pair up with Joseph Myers and Ezekiel Elliott in the backfield. But even though this offense has so much firepower, it can't seem to get off the ground. They're ranked 19th in points scored, 21st in passing yards per game, which is crazy when you have 198 speed wide receiver on one side of the field, and then you have another wide receiver who has 98 speed on the other side of the field. Then they're ranked 21st in rushing, which is crazy when you got Ezekiel Elliott in the backfield. So I don't know what's going on with this offense out in Dallas. I think Mr. HBO need to invest into an ebook or something, but he got to figure out how to get this team going, fast. To switch gears, you have the Washington Redskins, who in my opinion has one of the most scariest, fastest secondary in the DML. You know, he has Malik Spears paired up with Dunbar, Samuel Beasley, and the list goes on and on and on. At one point, this secondary was considered the no-fly zone in the DML. But on the field, it seems to be something totally different with that ranked 22nd secondary, giving up a total of 177 yards per game. You know, I guess everything out there in Washington is flying for free. You know, in this matchup, it's going to come down to who can figure out how to put points on the board, because both of these offenses are struggling and the defenses are struggling also. Now, under 2 rated is coming off of a very impressive win in their Week 9 matchup against Matty Ice and those Philadelphia Eagles. I think that somehow, some way, under 2 rated carries that same momentum that from winning that victory matchup against those Eagles into this matchup and gets the W going into Week 11. Next up, we have Farquaad, whenever he decides to join, in the New York Jets versus Nancy Loop and the Atlanta Falcons. Now, this right here is going to be a forced W for the Atlanta Falcons, which I think came at the perfect time because they just took a devastating loss last week against division mate C. Robin's Carolina Panthers. Now, this forced W keeps the Atlanta Falcons' playoff hopes alive, you know, which I know that the owner wants to make a push for the playoffs because they have not yet seemed to broken that playoff barrier yet to make a playoff entrance yet this cycle. So I think that this W hopefully can keep their playoff hopes alive and keep them going in the right direction. Next up, we have SJ in the Houston Texans versus Darkness and the Tennessee Titans. This game right here, both of these guys are entering this matchup. I think the Houston Texans are 2-6 and Darkness is 3-5. This game is going to come down to which user can take away something that the other user likes to do. Now, SJ's entering this matchup ranked 6 and rushing the ball on the offense side. Then you have Darkness entering this matchup with those Tennessee Titans ranked 5th in passing yards per game on the offensive side of the ball. This game is going to come down to who can make who one-dimensional. Who can take away the strength of which user's offense. I think that SJ is going to figure it out. The Texans are trying to make that playoff run, so this is a must-win for the Houston Texans. I think SJ is definitely going to come out with the victory going into Week 11. Next up, we have KP and the Kansas City Chiefs versus Flair and those Pittsburgh Steelers. This pretty much, man, is a practice game, XP game, a pre-warm-up game for KP in his Week 11 matchup against JB and the Denver Broncos. I think that KP is going to come out and win this game by at least snares versus Westside Pablo and the New York Giants. Could we be witnessing both of these teams finally turning the corner? Two teams who seem to be tired of flat out losing, like real rap. Both of these teams have been picking in the top. He can probably dictate the outcome of this game for y'all, man. So feel good, get your running back back. Going up against a struggling New York Giants team who can't seem to stop the run. Now, Westside Pablo, after trading for Baker Mayfield, man, the hype seemed to die down very fast. Baker Mayfield seemed in his first debut as a New York Giant getting high caliber wide receivers, such as OBJ, Ingram at the tight end position, and that beast rookie wide receiver didn't look so good in his first debut. He didn't throw for a touchdown pass, finished the game with a low 40% QBR rating, was sacked 5 times and threw 3 interceptions. Now, pump your brakes, relax. This can be a matchup that Baker Mayfield has a big breakout game because he's facing the secondary who's ranked 29th against the pass. Now, we have one team that can't stop the run, and we have one team that can't stop the pass. Who can take advantage of that? My guess is going to have to be the New York Giants coming out with a blazing passing game, getting a W going into Week 11. Next up, we got my Cleveland Browns versus the Bucs and the Chicago Bears. Coach OG Chris Murray enters old stomping grounds where he was able to bring the Lombardi Trophy back home to the Chirac. Now, I'm going to have to figure out how to not let my emotions get tangled up in this game and come out very focused and be patient and take what this, in my eyes, crazy Chicago Bears defense decides to give me. Now, the Bucs had one sentence to say in his press conference this week heading into this matchup. Lamar Jackson will be leaving out of Chicago on a stretcher. So, that right there says it all, what his mindset is entering this matchup. But I'm never going to pick against myself. I'm taking my Cleveland Browns, getting a W, going into Week 11. Next up, we have Kirk and the Green Bay Packers versus Sweets 99 and the San Francisco 49ers. Injuries have been a big problem out there in Green Bay, man. Kirk enters this matchup without superstar tight end Gronkowski or wide receiver Devontae Adams, which isn't good because all hands on deck is going to be needed in this matchup. You're going up against a juggernaut 49ers team who's entering this matchup 8-0. This ain't nothing new, man, that we see it from Sweets 99, man. This is, nothing new from him. We got, he's sitting at 8-0. He's balling out. Every single season, this guy figures out how to put the best team that he can piece together out there on the field. But in my eyes, he seems to be playing with a little bit of extra and a little bit of chip on the shoulder this season, man. He got Jimmy G, who's healthy for the first time. You know, he got that running game clicking that's looking like those New York Jet days. And that defense right now is balling out on all levels. I mean, whether it's getting after the quarterback, creating turnovers, or even scoring. You know, this matchup right here could easily have been, I'm going to say last season could have been a challenge for Sweets 99, but the way that Green Bay Packers team is playing right now, I think it's going to be a cakewalk. I got Sweets 99 getting the W going into Week 11. Next up, we got Matty Ice and the Philadelphia Eagles versus Eddie Forrest and those Los Angeles Chargers. What the hell is going on out there in L.A., man? Like, what is going on? You know, they're sitting at 3-5, which is not a bad position right now, being so how tight those last two wild card slots can go, and the second half of the season could turn out to be okay for these LA Chargers. But what's going on, man? Like, he took a loss to HBO, which can be a total mental breakdown, because don't nobody in the DML wants that video from HBO. But things are not getting easier because the second half of his schedule seems to be tough, and he's facing a couple top 10 users in the DML. You know, and this week he has the Philadelphia Eagles coming to town, and Matty Ice seemed to have his eye on the ball. You know, but my opinion, I think this is a must-win for the Philadelphia Eagles. I think that the Eagles have to put together as many W's as they can and try to get that first round bye, or even try to get home field advantage, because entering the playoffs, you want that comfortable spot of being able to play at home. And so far, the Philadelphia Eagles have shown that they're better at home than on the road, only allowing at home 12 points per game on the defensive side of the ball, causing 5 turnovers, and getting after the quarterback 14 times. So I think that this is a must-win for the Philadelphia Eagles if they plan on being comfortable in the playoffs. But with my pick, I'm taking the Philadelphia Eagles getting a W on the road going to Week 11. Next up, we have 85 and those New Orleans Saints versus Tight Work and the Miami Dolphins. We got two guys who are back-to-back Super Bowl champs. Excuse me. This right here could easily be the 2021 Super Bowl preview. Easily. You know, we got the number 2 rushing offense facing up against the number 3 ranked run defense. Tight Work is going to have to figure out how to get his offense going against this top tier New Orleans Saints defense, who's ranked pretty much top 5 in all categories except for one. And that one is against the pass. So Tight Work, you're going to have to attack that secondary and not be scared, and figure out how to mush in the run. I mean, but play to the Saints' weakness. I mean, even though the DML has them ranked 12th, I still think that this secondary is very dangerous. Eddie, man, feed the beast. AK-47 hasn't cracked 100 yards rushing since week 2 against the Dallas Cowboys. This is the week to feed the beast. You're going up against a defense who's ranked 32nd against the run. Let that man run wild. Give him at least about 20-plus carries, and I'm telling you, he's going to run y'all in Week 11 with the W. Now, with my pick, this is going to be a good game, man. But I'm going with the back-to-back. My fault. They both back-to-back Super Bowl champs. I'm going with the New Orleans Saints getting the W going into Week 11. Next up, we got Marizi and the Indianapolis Colts versus Jay and the Seattle Seahawks. The Colts is looking good this season, man. Sitting at 5-2 with a playoff spot right now locked in. But Marizi's going to have to figure out how to keep his foot on the gas pedal. Because even though he's sitting at 5-2, the AFC is starting to warm up a little bit, and guys are starting to catch their rhythm. This is a game that he's going to have to figure out how to secure the W. Now, Jay and those Seattle Seahawks. Quarterback Aubrey has been a highlight reel all season, but the rest of the team has not yet figured out how to catch up to his pace. Guys like Keenan Allen, Kareem Hunt, Tyler Lockett, Bobby Wagner, Luke Kuechly, Earl Thomas, key guys on this team on both sides of the ball are going to have to figure out how to contribute. But I like the way Marizi and the Colts is playing. So my pick, I'm going to take the Indianapolis Colts getting the W going into Week 11. Next up, we got Chef Scooper and the Arizona Cardinals versus Expert and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, after Expert had this slow start, taking 2 losses back-to-back, he has been on a goddamn tear. 6-game winning streak. And on that 6-game span, he's only been allowing 10 points per game on the defensive side of the ball. 21 interceptions. 20 sacks. This team is flat out balling. This is the team right now that I'm pretty much, it's on anybody's schedule. You should have your goddamn antennas up, because this team right now is catching fire, and they catching fire fast. Chef Scooper, if you plan on making a playoff run, this is a must-win for you. You're sitting at 4-4. Right now, you're on the outside looking on that playoff wild card slot, which is very tight right now in the NFC. They're going to have to figure out how to get your offense going and take what this Jacksonville Jaguars team gives you. Don't force the ball. I mean, they're going to have to put together a solid game plan, which involves a solid run game and a solid passing game to hopefully keep this Jacksonville Jaguar defense off balance. Now, with my pick, the way that this Jacksonville Jaguar team is playing right now and the stats that I just read off, they play like a team on a mission. So I'm taking Expert and the Jacksonville Jaguars getting a W going into Week 11. Next up, we got C-Rob and the Carolina Panthers versus the Schemer and the New England Patriots. This game right here is a must-win for both guys if they plan on making the playoffs. It's so crazy because every win right now counts if you plan on making the playoffs, whether it's in the NFC or the AFC. Panthers sitting at 4-4. Then you got the Pats, who's sitting at 5-2, and they had that tying game with the Oakland Raiders, which I think is going to come back and bite him in his ass. But this is the game that both guys must win. The Schemer, looking at this New England Patriots team, man, every single season, like I said on previous shows, this New England Pats team seem to be stepping it up a notch every single season. And this is the game right here. I think that, he can showcase his talent facing C-Rob and those Carolina Panthers, who are right now, even though they're facing injuries in key positions on both sides of the ball, is next man up. If he plan on making the playoff run, he's going to have to figure out how to get top production from these guys that's filling in for these injured players. Now, this is going to be a good game. It's probably going to be a shootout right here, man. It's going to be an offensive shootout. But with my pick, man, I'm going to go with my gut on this one. I'm taking the Schemer and the New England Patriots getting the W going into Week 11. Next up, we have JB and the Denver Broncos versus Skill Trade and the Buffalo Bills. Things looked all right for the Denver Broncos, man, in the beginning of the season, but I guess Madden caught up with him, and his team can't seem to stay healthy. Every single season, man, it's a new story with these Denver Broncos. It's either, the Madden BS, or the offensive struggles, or the defensive struggles, or just injuries, And it's sad because this team is loaded with talent, and they're going to have to figure things out, man. Like, regroup. Just try to finish this season out strong. Same thing as for the Buffalo Bills. They just acquired, I think it's Joseph from strong safety, I believe, due to the Oakland Raiders having to drop 2 players. Another talented player added to an already stacked talented roster in my eyes, but the ownership down to the coaching can't seem to push this team in the right direction. But in this matchup, man, I'm going to lay it out as far as just who I think has the best stick skills, and I'm going to go with JB in this one, getting a W going into Week 11. Now, I'm your host, OG Chris Murray. Those are my picks for Week 10 in the DML. Tune in to the next show. Drop a comment. Let me know who you think might close out the W's in this week. I'm out.